To find out what happens when Tinker Bell travels to the mysterious winter woods and discovers a sparkling surprise, read along with me in your book. You will know it's time to turn the page when you hear this sound. Let's begin now. For as long as she could remember, Tinker Bell had wanted to travel to the winter woods.
There's a whole other world over there.
So when Tink's fairy friend Fawn needed help taking animals to the winter woods, she quickly volunteered. When they arrived, Tinker Bell jumped over the border into the frozen landscape. Suddenly, her wings began to sparkle.
Oh.
Back in Pixie Hollow, Tinker Bell was determined to find out what had made her wings sparkle so magically. A fairy told her that she would need to find the keeper of all fairy knowledge. But he lived in the winter woods. Tink snuck into a basket so a snowy owl could fly her there.
I'm going to the winter woods.
The wintry landscape glistened in the sunlight as a group of owls flew toward the winter woods. It was a beautiful sight. After a bumpy landing, Tinker Bell hurried to the Hall of Winter, where she found Dewey, the keeper. But before she could ask him about her wings, she spotted another fairy whose wings were sparkling brightly. Tinker Bell then realized her wings were sparkling again too. Tink and the fairy, whose name was Periwinkle, soon learned that they had been born of the same laugh. That could mean only one thing. The girls looked at each other in awe.
So we're sisters.
Even though it was against the rules, Dewey told Tink and Perry that they could spend a little time together before Tink had to go back home. Perry introduced Tink to her friends Gliss and Spike. Then they all took an icy ride down a frozen waterfall. When night fell, Tinker Bell built a fire to keep warm. As the sisters talked, Tink had an idea. Maybe Perry would be able to visit her.
I made it warmer over here. Maybe I could make it colder over there.
Just then, the snow started to melt, causing an avalanche. A lynx helped Tink and Perry escape. Dewey was very worried.
I'm sorry, girls. We have to take Tinker Bell home.
Tink told Perry that she should meet her at the border the next day. When Tinker Bell arrived back in Pixie Hollow, she asked her friends for help. They all worked together to build an amazing contraption. Then they pulled it to the border, where Perry and her friends were waiting. Tinker Bell grinned.
Yep, this is your ticket to the warm side of Pixie Hollow.
With the snowmaker to keep her nice and cold, Perry left the winter woods for the very first time. She could hardly believe all the wonders of Pixie Hollow's warmer seasons. There were beautiful plants and colorful butterflies everywhere. Tink's friends couldn't wait to meet her sister. Rosetta spotted her first.
There she is!
Tinker Bell looked at Perry proudly.
Everyone, this is Periwinkle, my sister.
But as soon as Periwinkle stepped outside of the snowmaker's range, the warm weather made her wings turn brown. She collapsed to the ground.
I don't feel so.
Tinker Bell gasped.
Periwinkle!
My wings. I can't feel them. I think they're too warm.
Tink rushed Perry to the border. When they arrived, Lord Mallory, the Lord of Winter, was waiting for them.
This is why we do not cross the border. You two may never see each other again.
Tinkerbell was angry.
Your rule will not keep us apart.
Just then, Queen Clarion, the Queen of Pixie Hollow, arrived.
Tinkerbell, this is not Lord Mallory's rule. It's mine.
Tink and Perry shared one last hug goodbye. Tinkerbell and Queen Clarion headed to the Queen's chambers. The Queen told Tink a story about two fairies who once fell in love. One fairy was from the warm seasons, while the other was from winter. But when they tried to be together, tragedy struck.
One of them broke a wing, for which there is no cure.
Just then, Tink noticed it was snowing. All the fairies gathered to see where the snow was coming from. They spotted the snowmaker lodged against a glacier, spouting snow. The fairies did their best to move it out of the way. Queen Clarion was alarmed.
We must hope the tree survives the freeze. Otherwise there will be no more pixie dust. Life in Pixie Hollow will change forever, and no fairy will ever fly again.
At that moment, Tinkerbell noticed that a periwinkle flower that her sister had covered with frost when she came to visit Pixie Hollow had somehow survived the cold. Tink flew to the winter woods, but fell into the snow as soon as she crossed the border.
Pixie Hollow's in trouble. There's a freeze moving in, and the pixie dust tree is in danger. I think there's something you can do. Your frost. It kept the flower alive.
Gliss explained that frost can tuck warm air inside to keep out the cold. That gave Perry an idea.
We could frost the pixie dust tree before the freeze hits it.
The freeze made it cold enough for the winter fairies to safely cross the border. The fairies tried to weave a shell of frost over the branches. A few moments later, Tinkerbell spotted Lord Mallory in the distance.
We've come to help.
When the freeze was finally over, golden sunbeams shone over Pixie Hollow. Their warmth began to melt the frost. At first, nothing happened. Then the pixie dust started flowing again. The pixie dust tree was safe. Tinkerbell was ecstatic.
We did it.
Suddenly, Tinkerbell felt a sharp pain. One of her wings had broken when she flew to the winter woods. Perry was distraught. The sisters realized that now it was really time to say goodbye. But first, Tink and Perry lifted their wings together. At that moment, their wings began to sparkle. Tink's wing was healed. With a protective coat of frost on their wings, the warm weather fairies could visit the winter fairies whenever they wanted. Now, Queen Clarion and Lord Mallory, the two fairies from the legend who had fallen in love, could be together again. And so could the two fairies born of the same laugh, Tinkerbell and Periwinkle, sisters who would never have to be apart.